Hi, I'm Tommy Whitelaw, National Lead for Caring and Outreach at the Health and Social Care Alliance Scotland. And thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of our Alliance Live series, Alliance Live 5, asking health and social care colleagues across Scotland 5 key questions. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Steve Ford, Chief Executive of the Royal College of Occupational Therapists. Steve, can I start by asking you how you're doing today?
Good, thank you. No, I'm good, and yeah, looking forward to this chat actually.
Me too, Stephen. I'm looking forward to learning more about the work you do and colleagues across the country. We're here today to mark Occupational Therapy Week 2021 from the 1st to the 7th of November. I know we're going to be speaking a lot about the important work that occupational therapists do and the key themes that will be points for discussion and learning over the course of the week. But first, Steve, can I ask, you joined the Royal College of Occupational Therapists as Chief Executive at Easter this year. What brought you to this role and what have you learned in the first 6 months? And can you tell us a little bit about why you're proud to be Chief Executive of the organisation?
Yes, so I did. I joined 6 months ago. Beforehand, I'd worked in the health service. I've been a general manager, a chief executive, and I'd headed up Parkinson's UK for a long time. So I'd worked alongside occupational therapists, and I saw something of what occupational therapists were able to do. But I think I had a sense that actually we could put a bit more oomph behind this. Actually, I think the power of occupational therapy is so powerful, and so could I make a contribution in trying to just give a stronger voice, stronger platform, better support to the profession? So yeah, I started 6 months ago, and I set myself, and because I recognized I had so much to learn, I set myself this objective of speaking to 100 occupational therapists in my first 100 days. And actually, that's still going. I think it's now 200 occupational therapists in 200 days or whatever. But I tell you, that has just been fantastic. I have spoken to so many just amazing, inspirational occupational therapists working in such a range of different settings, housing, mental health, stroke units, primary care, cancer care, really powerful actually. And I think what's come through that is a sense that actually it's perhaps quite hard to put all that together and explain occupational therapy in a really clear way. But what came over so powerfully is just the passion and the pride that those occupational therapists have in the impact that they are making in their communities, with their clients, with their patients. So yeah, a real privilege to do this role and just be part of it and to try and do something to raise the profile of occupational therapy and just ensure that more people can benefit from occupational therapy input.
I really like that. I like the idea of taking time, 100 and 100 days, then 200 to find out what matters to colleagues across the country. I really like that, Steve. That's a great.
Yeah, and people have been very honest with me, and maybe when you're new, you're in that kind of honeymoon period where you can just listen to what everybody says. I think in 6 months' time, those conversations might be quite different because it will be, well, what have you done about all of this stuff?
Yes. Oh, lovely. So as this is Occupational Therapy Week and the theme of the week this year is health equity, could you firstly tell us a little bit about why the RCOT chose health equity as this year's theme?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I mean, one of the first things I was able to attend when I joined the college was the annual conference, and there was a really strong emphasis at that conference from the occupational therapy community around health equity. I think it's really in everybody's minds at the moment, isn't it? I think with the impact of COVID, just some of these issues, some of the disparities are much more evident to us all. I think we're starting to see the way different communities have been impacted by the pandemic, and so health equity is clearly an issue that is I think on everybody's minds, or if it's not, it needs to be, because there are some really challenging gaps. And I think the point that came through that conference and so many of the conversations I've had is just this sense that because of the breadth of occupational therapy, therapists see the impact of that. They see the impact of housing and employment and those other determinants of health. So we want to, raise awareness of these issues, make sure that everybody keeps focused on the topic of health inequalities, health equity, but also just to remind everybody what a strategic and key role occupational therapists can play as being solutions to some of these issues and challenges.
So can I ask you, what work do occupational therapists do to support and champion work in this area, Steve?
People talk about, in health services, being patient-centered. They talk about holistic care. And I think they, to some extent, thought that was a little bit of jargon, really. Doesn't every health profession say we're person-centered, we're a person-centered team? But I think what occupational therapy really does is enable people to live their lives in the way that they want to do, and to find strategies to remove the barriers to that, to give people the skills, the confidence, the resources to do what they want to do in terms of living life and living full lives. So the work with children and young people, I think, is really important, because it is about those kind of early interventions, working with children, working with their families at an early stage to help people have the skills, the confidence that they need so that they can fulfill their potential in education and everything else. And of course, that has a massive impact then on the gaps and health later on in lives. Then a whole group of occupational therapists working in housing, and some really sophisticated work there, I think, to help people and again families to kind of modify, build accommodation that really does enable people to live more fulfilling lives. This is where occupational therapists have got so much experience and skill around the kind of interventions, the kind of technology that's needed, the kind of system and the resources and the contacts. And you can see, and I've heard so many powerful stories of just the impact of getting involved with a family to transform their house in a really kind of sensitive way that meets their needs, can have a big impact on people. And I think just more broadly, it's recognizing how important work is for people as well. Access to work, that kind of meaningful, the way that work gives meaning and structure to our lives. So the work that occupational therapists can do with their clients, with their employers, to really support people to be able to continue working, living with a disability, or living with or following some illness or accidents. I think just three areas where I think occupational therapists can make a real difference in a way that kind of then impacts on someone's broader quality of life, which I think has an impact more broadly on their health and their health outcomes.
And I know of the impact that they can have as a son who cared for his mum for nearly 6 years and living with dementia, and the changes that came across those years. So I completely understand the value and the part that the OTs can play in supporting people to live better. So I thank you, and I thank them for that, Steve. So can you tell me, what is the objective of this RCOT campaign? What do you hope the legacy of the campaign would be?
I think what we want to do, first of all, is just put a flag in the ground and say this is really important. And we know lots of people are focusing on this area, but we just want to keep people focused. Health equity is something that we all need to tackle. I think what we want to do with our members is, and I'm really keen on this as a kind of longer term approach, that how we build the community of occupational therapists, how we get better at supporting each other, sharing good practice, developing the tools and resources that we all need to be able to do our jobs. So there will be a kind of call to action, really, for people to flag up what they're doing, what support they need, and use that, I think, to to position the work of the college and the profession in a more skilled way towards the things that we need to do. So it's about skilling up the profession to tackle this agenda. We'll be launching a report that will be highlighting these issues to kind of policymakers. But I think more importantly, just making the point that occupational therapists need to be around the table, that occupational therapists, because of that holistic approach, that problem-solving approach actually can really help change systems, can change the way that people look at those kind of problems and issues to deliver the kind of change that we want to see. So it is about, flying the flag for occupational therapy in all of this. So, I hope the legacy will be that the policymakers, the sort of system will recognize the importance of occupational therapy. But I also hope that through this, occupational therapists and as a profession will just be better, even better prepared to be able to take on some of the challenges ahead of us over the next few years.
Well, thank you for that, Stephen. We're just coming to the end of the conversation just now. What message would you like to share with, colleagues across the country? What would your key message you would like to leave with us today?
I mean, it's a little bit where I started, really, in terms of, when you talk to occupational therapists, I think you will be surprised in terms of the range of skills and perspectives. I think you'll be really impressed to hear the impact that they are making in the way that I have been. And you will be really excited, I think, by the possibilities that come out of that. So I think my message to everybody would be to think, how can occupational therapy, how can occupational therapists perhaps get involved in the work that, whatever we're doing, and what kind of creative solutions might they bring to the table. That would be my message. You might not be able to have 100 conversations in 100 days, but have one conversation. Sit down with an occupational therapist and really see what opportunities come out of that.
I'm going to sit down and have a chat with an occupational therapist. So you've got one person. You've got one person joining you there.
Brilliant.
So thank you so much, Steve, for taking the time to talk to us today. And for those interested in finding out more, please watch to the end of this video, and we'll put a wee slide up with some links and additional information. So thank you, Steve, and thanks to everyone for listening to the latest edition of Alliance Live 5. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Tommy.